My name is Santiago Marquez. I'm the president and CEO of the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. It's an honor to be here with you again today. Obviously, we are all still going through this crisis together, COVID-19. And I'd like to start off today by telling you what we are doing at the Chamber, and then we will introduce our guest. As we have a very special program for you today, we will be focusing on our partners in Cobb County. At the Chamber, as you guys may or may not know, as soon as the crisis started, we decided that we needed to become a small business disaster relief organization. We thought it was critical for us to transition the type of work that we were doing and to focus away from business growth to helping people save their businesses and helping those people to try to survive this crisis. So as we start moving into recovery, we could make sure that our businesses were in a position where they could start employing people again and start growing their businesses again. Some of the things that we have done through the crisis is we have shifted our duties at the Chamber. We are still operating, but we are not in our offices, obviously. We are answering our phones from Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. We are answering emails every day. And we created a COVID-19 business resource page. So if you go to our website, ghcc.org, there you can access information that we are getting on a daily basis from the White House, from the governor's office, and from the Small Business Administration. Obviously, a lot of that information has been translated into Spanish, as we understand that our community, a good segment of our community, prefers Spanish, and they are not accessing the information, or the information is not readily available. So we are doing our best to ensure that our Spanish preferred audience is getting information. We also shifted the way that we're doing programs to doing webinars and seminars on a daily basis. And we're doing about 5 or 6 a week. Half are in Spanish and half are in English. This is to make sure that our community is getting the information that they need when it comes to their health, their finances, unemployment, and any other information that we believe is pertinent to surviving this crisis. We have also created a task force, which is being led by Gabriel Vaca, our Executive Vice President. And while I'm talking about Mr. Vaca, I would like to thank our whole team. Our entire team has dedicated themselves to making sure that we're focused on saving lives during this moment and saving businesses. And I myself have been appointed to Governor Kemp's coronavirus task force, the subcommittee of that task force. And I think it's very important for us to make sure that we have a Hispanic voice on there. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest today. Today, we're going to focus on Cobb County, and we're going to give you the government perspective, the health perspective, and the business perspective. So I'd like to introduce our first guest, Chairman Mike Boyce, the chairman of Cobb County. Hello, sir. How are you? How are things going for you and your family right now?
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me today. I want to say how much we welcome the input of the Hispanic community here in Cobb County, as we do all our diverse members of this wonderful family called Cobb. And like you, every day is more interesting than the day before. And I think that this is a time that calls the best of us, regardless of our background, to meet the challenges that make us different, called Americans. So we initially started our mitigation efforts about 6 weeks ago. As you know, our shelter in place has been in place since about the middle of March. And we've been complementing the efforts of the governor to address this virus. And I think it's very important that we emphasize that we need to collectively be working together to arrive at a solution for the new norm. Because I think the new norm is that until we get a vaccine, we're going to have to deal with a world that has the coronavirus in it. And I've been working with Sharon Mason and John Loud and other members of the chamber, as well as other members of our community, to find a way to work and operate in that new world. Because the reality is, we simply can't stay home forever. We have to get out. We have to get people back to work as much as we can in a way that balances the health and vitality of our community with the economic stability and future of that county. And that's the world we're looking in right now. I had a long conversation with Sharon Mason earlier this week, as with other members of the chamber, as to what is that world going to look like. Look, I spent 30 years in the Marine Corps, so I'm used to living in a world with measured risk. And that's the world we're going to have to live in here for the next year or so, that when we get out and we start putting people back to work, what are those measures that you can take that are going to give you some degree of safety, knowing full well that you cannot protect against everything. And I'm not sure what that world looks like just yet, but I do know a couple things. First of all, we have a diverse economy here in Cobb County. There are a number of people that are already working. The current declaration of emergency that I have in place that complements the governor's executive order has 33 exemptions of various categories of essential services. And we're liberally interpreting what those essential services are. In other words, we're trying to keep as many people at work as possible, yet also emphasizing the importance of the health precautions to get us through these days, the social distancing, the health precautions like washing your hands, wearing face masks. We're trying to ensure people that while we want you to work, we also want you to not do this without, heedlessly. We want you to take certain precautions. The emergency order that I have, along with this shelter in place that the governor put out, allows for non-essential businesses to operate as long as they take certain precautions. So while, yes, the picture is somewhat grim than it was a month ago, there are a lot of bright spots here in the county. And right now, I think we need to be focused on what are those measures that we can take, all right, to allow us to get back to operate in the new world, whatever it looks like. And we're in those discussions right now with various community leaders, not just the chamber, but also the mayors and also the state. The second thing is Cobb County is still working. If you call 911, I can guarantee you your public safety is going to show up at your door. If you have requirements for permitting, permitting for community development, our community development office is still working and processing permits. So we have a number of measures that we're taking right now to assure people that, yes, the world is different, but we're meeting that challenge and we welcome to it. So we ask people to go to www.cobbcounty.org for any updates on what we're doing here in the county. If you think you have the virus, all right, we want you to go to the website that the Public Health Department has set up, which I believe is www.covid19testing.org. And if you have the symptoms, apply to get the testing at Jim Miller Park. The National Guard is now in place here in Cobb County, supplementing our efforts to help with the testing, because we need to know how many people have the virus, and that will help us shape the picture that what kind of world we're going to work in here, because that is the unknown. That is the variable that most concerns all of us, is that because we know you can be asymptomatic with this virus, we don't want you to be going out here and taking chances just because you don't think you have the symptoms. So we have a lot of things we're doing right now. And I just want to assure you that we're working hand in glove with not only the chamber, but also other elected officials, both at our level, the state level, and the federal government, to protect everybody here in Cobb County, to make sure that this is a place where you can still safely work, live, play, and pursue your dreams.
Well, thank you, Chairman Boyce, and I think I speak for everybody. Thank you for your service in the military and now what you're doing for Cobb County. I guess you've dedicated your life to service, and that's remarkable. We really appreciate that. A couple questions, if you don't mind. And I don't know that you know the answer to this, but what does recovery look like now? I mean, are we in that mode right now? Are we in that phase, or are we still in the crisis phase? Are we trying to inch our way to recovery, or where are we right now in your mind in terms of Cobb County?
Well, my mind is that we're now thinking about what does it look like to come out of this. All right. In other words, we're not just reacting anymore. We're now thinking about those necessary steps that we need to take with our business partners, with our political party, elected officials, to move out of this thing collectively to address what the new world looks like, where we know the virus is always going to be present. And I think that's a good thing to think about, is that we're not just looking backwards like, oh my gosh, how did we get here? Now we're looking about where do we want to go and how do we get there? So I think we're all, this is all new to us. There's still a lot of risk involved in this, but the reality here is that, look, we're a capitalistic society. Right? We're not socialistic. We depend on funding our services through businesses and people paying their taxes. And they can't pay their taxes if they don't have a job. So This is all connected, and yet we don't want to take unnecessary risks. So what we need to be doing here is thinking about the education campaign that we need to be mounting, that when you come out of your home, and the reality is they're going to start coming out of their home one way or another next month, because you can only ask so many people to stay in their houses for so long. They're going to start taking their lives, control of their lives back. And we want to make sure that when they do that, we're working them in a united front here and say, when you come out, we're going to be doing these things to help you get back to some kind of a new norm, whatever that looks like.
Thank you, Chairman. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for that. And I tend to agree with you. I know I've heard the governor say the same thing. You can only ask people to shelter in place for so long. I mean, people have to earn a living in our society, and people are going to start going out. So great approach. Thank you for that.
Welcome.
I would like to go now to Stephen Volt. Stephen is the Vice President of Strategic Community Development for Wellstar Systems. Stephen, if I may call you Stephen, I know we
Yes,
just.
please.
I want to thank you, and I want to thank Wellstar. Full disclosure here, I am a board member of the Atlanta Medical Center on the community board. Just happened late last year. Proud to do it. I've only been to a couple board meetings, but I'm looking forward to helping and getting engaged. And thank you guys for the work that you do all throughout the city. Can you give us an update on what the hospitals and the urgent cares and the clinics are seeing in terms of this crisis right now? Where are we right now from your perspective?
Well, first, let me thank you for your service to Wellstar, for serving on one of our regional community boards. We are very grateful for your service. We're also thankful for the Georgia Hispanic Chamber's collective efforts in ensuring the health and well-being of residents, and for having this meeting today. Thank you for allowing me to talk to you for a few minutes to share how Wellstar is responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. As a large healthcare system, we have the benefit of having significant infrastructure and resources to respond to this pandemic. Wellstar has taken advantage of our size and system mass to provide better care and access to these resources. We have a formal emergency preparedness infrastructure that is called the Hospital Incident Command, or HICS. And we use this HICS framework with a command center at the Wellstar corporate office, as well as one on each side of each hospital. Our steadfast focus is on the advanced planning and preparation, and that will continue. We continue to monitor our PPE with the goal of ensuring that everyone in a patient-facing role is receiving the necessary equipment to perform their jobs in the safest manner possible. From the beginning, we've carefully followed the CDC guidance for use of PPE. We have PPE, gloves, masks, gowns available for our team, and we've extended our PPE guidelines to offer masks to everyone in the hospital. And those who require an N95 mask receive an N95. We have already expanded our ICU capacity in many of our hospitals by converting other types of units into ICUs. We're continuing to work to add significant additional capacity of several hundred more beds. We are working now to equip and staff those identified additional rooms. By now, you've heard how important ventilators are in the care of the critically ill. Today, Wellstar has more than enough standard ventilators to meet the demand. We know the demand is going to increase, so we're also developing contingency plans across the system to more than double our ventilator capacity. One of the benefits of being a system is that we can shift equipment around as demand changes at our different hospitals, and we've already done that. We are also buying ventilators. We're actively working on broad provider and workforce redeployment plans that will allow us to reposition our workforce to serve in the areas of greatest need. We have very low volumes in some of our physician offices, which gives us talented doctors, nurses, and team members to redeploy. Wellstar has increased our capacity for testing, allowing for identification of COVID-19. The rapid identification of COVID-19 is a crucial element in the fight against this disease. We are particularly excited about the new Abbott testing, or the in-house rapid turnaround test. We now have the testing kits and equipment operation, and we continue to work in tight partnership with state, federal, and local public health officials to ensure that this testing is done efficiently. Finally, with all of the focus being on those who have the disease, we are very proud to share that many of our patients are recovering because of the care of our teams and on the front lines that they continue to provide each and every day. In closing, I'd like to share some of the COVID-19 resources and information, including our members of your communities can utilize. Please visit wellstar.org for COVID-19 related resources and information that's constantly updated, including a coronavirus assessment tool that we have online. Our COVID community helpline, which we've established at 770-956-STAR, that's 770-956-7827, where you can get staffed from 7 to 5 p.m. With nurses and other healthcare professionals to answer some of those COVID-related questions. You can also follow WellStar and our social channels for COVID-19 information that you can like and share. I want to thank you and the entire Georgia Hispanic Chamber for having me today to share what WellStar is doing and what we will continue to do in fighting this effort.
Well, no, thank you for being here. I know you're a busy person. I do have a couple of questions.
Yeah, awesome.
First, this is an easy one, but I had to ask my wife when all of this started. She's has a background in the medical field. What is PPE, please? I mean, can you just? Yeah. I know that seems silly, but.
So no, it's not a silly question. PPE is personal protection equipment. So PPE for us encompasses the masks, gowns, face shields, all those pieces of equipment that are essential in keeping our team members safe.
And talk a little bit about the WellStar footprint in terms of the city. I know that you guys have a big presence in Cobb County. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
Can you kind of tell us where it goes to, all the WellStar system, please?
Absolutely. So WellStar is one of the largest integrated health systems in the whole state of Georgia. While we are headquartered in Cobb County, headquartered here in Marietta, Georgia, we have 11 inpatient facilities, 5 health parks, a pediatric center, senior assisted living facilities, urgent care facilities, cancer centers, and over 300 medical office locations. So WellStar is positioned throughout the state to meet the needs of the community. With facilities as far north as Cherokee County and down south to Troup County, we proudly play a leadership role in the health and well-being of all Georgia citizens.
Thank you. And last question here, because I have been asked a lot, and you may not have the answer to this, and that's okay. We know, at least we have heard that the African American community has been hit disproportionately with this virus. I've gotten a lot of questions about the Hispanic community. Do you have any data or any numbers or any sense on what's happening in your system with African Americans and Hispanics and other minorities?
So thank you for that question. I don't have exact numbers for you on this particular call. I can tell you that that's something that WellStar is taking very seriously. We're continuously looking at that and those social determinants of health and how it's impacting at-risk populations. And so that is something that we as a system will continue to monitor and look for ways that we can make sure that those communities are not left in the cold on this one, and that we are effectively taking care of every member of our community.
Okay, well, thank you again for your service, and thank you for keeping us healthy and safe and tackling those folks that need a lot of help that are ill. We like to now take a look at the business perspective, and I'd like to bring on a good friend of mine, somebody who has been a partner to our chamber, the president and CEO of the Cobb Chamber. We have been working with the Cobb Chamber now for a couple of years. We host a bi-weekly meeting there, but beyond that, we're looking at increasing that footprint of that partnership to make sure that all Hispanic business owners who are in Cobb County, we always tell them, please join the Cobb Chamber. The Cobb Chamber is the chamber that's going to be able to bring you the resources that you need. We will help you, but if you're serious about growing your business in Cobb County, you need to be a member of the Cobb Chamber. And so we will be deepening this partnership as we continue to get out of this crisis. But I'd like to introduce a good friend, Sharon Mason, President and CEO of the Cobb Chamber, to give us the chamber perspective on the crisis. Sharon?
Thank you, Santiago, and we greatly appreciate our partnership with the Cobb Chamber and the Georgia Hispanic Chamber. You have been an incredible partner, and we look forward to expanding that and getting back together when we can have our events together again, when we can all do that. But I want to tell you, we are so proud of our many partners of our community. So many people are stepping up in many, many ways, whether it's our great healthcare providers like WellStar, our county leaders. Chairman Boyce is doing an incredible job, and our Board of Commissioners. Many other partners are all working together, and it is so critical at this time that we continue to work together, keep people updated, and help everybody through that time. And that has been our focus at the Cobb Chamber, to be a resource, to be an advocate, to be a champion, to help every business, every citizen, every community member through this. And so we've been focused on providing resources. We actually have a one-stop shop resource page, COVID-19, on our website. You can't miss it when you go to cobbchamber.org. It has everything there, whether federal stimulus information, Department of Labor information, jobs available. I know a lot of folks are furloughed or lost jobs, so it has that information as well. How to effectively telework as an organization. You name it, is all there. Some great resources from the Georgia Chamber, for the U.S. Chamber, that help small businesses especially. And I know, just like our membership, a lot of Cobb Chamber members, like the Georgia Hispanic Chamber, are small businesses, and they have been impacted greatly by this. And so we know that this is a tough time for everybody. We've also been focused on providing programming virtually, just like you mentioned, having the daily webinars. We're doing the same thing, and I invite any of the Georgia Hispanic Chamber members, please join us. They're free to attend. Every Monday we have Cobb Connections that helps with that virtual connection and relationship making. Tuesdays are business recovery webinars. Wednesday, we partner with KSU for a leadership series to really especially help you in leading through crisis. And then Thursday and Friday, we're doing some targeted programming, such as our chamber chats that bring together specific industries and specific areas to help with idea sharing, you name it. And we're going to keep focusing and keep expanding that virtual programming during this time especially. And then we look forward to getting back together, having our networking events with the Georgia Hispanic Chamber at our facility, and continuing those. We have also been focused on advocacy and partnering with a lot of great organizations like Georgia Hispanic Chamber, the Georgia Chamber, the Metro Chamber, U.S. Chamber as well, to make sure that we're the voice for businesses, especially as the federal stimulus package was being developed. It was so important for them to hear from us. It was so critical that our congressional leaders knew what business owners needed and what was so important for them. And so that's why we focused on providing that information, getting a lot of input from our members, and we'll keep doing that. And I greatly appreciate our congressional delegation and the wonderful work they did on expediting the federal stimulus. I know they're continuing to work on many other tweaks, and it is much appreciated and will make a big difference. And we've been, part of our business recovery seminar is providing access to those who can walk you through the SBA loan process, talk with bankers, talk with accountants, attorneys, those who can answer all the questions that you have. So those are the ones on Tuesdays on the business recovery. But we encourage you, talk to your local banker, your local accountant, your local attorney that can help you and walk you through the process, because there are a lot of great experts that can help you in that. And then we will also continue to focus on working with a lot of our partners on some very targeted areas. One example of that is we partner with Cobb Community Foundation to start Operation Meal Plan. And the purpose of that is to help our restaurants keep their workers employed, and also to help those nonprofits who need that help, need that support, and aren't having volunteers who can bring food at this time. And so it is really helped tremendously. By the end of next week, more than almost 6,000 meals would have been served to 23 nonprofits, 21 restaurants participating, and some of them are telling me this is the only reason they're staying in business. And so we're going to keep promoting businesses in every way possible, doing things like Cobb Shops to Go is something we launched. So if you have a special deal that you want to post, please do that, and we're so happy to help you. So happy to help you in every direction during this time. So just know you've got the support of the Cobb Chamber, with the Georgia Hispanic Chamber, and so many in the community. And we couldn't be more thankful for the great work WellStar is doing to keep and help so many people recover, and the great work that Chairman Boyce and so many other leaders are doing. And we're going to keep working together to help us all overcome this. We formed an economic recovery task force, and look forward to working on both short-term and long-term solutions so we can recover and overcome this.
Well, thank you. That's amazing, and you're a tremendous leader. And you know, I learned a lot from you. We've actually been friends for a while, back when you were the COO of the Cobb Chamber, and we take a lot of best practices from what you guys do. So you guys are a leader in the chamber world, and we appreciate your leadership through all of this. So, you know, a couple of questions when you talk about recovery, because we just had this conversation in-house last week. We started having the conversation. You know, we felt a tremendous sense of responsibility being an ethnic chamber, right? And knowing that there was a lot of information that wasn't in Spanish, and trying to get that information to our community. So we focused a lot on disaster relief. Then we started realizing last week that we needed to start pivoting a little bit and start introducing this recovery, you know, the concept of recovery. And so can you tell us a little bit about how you guys are doing that? What are you focusing on? Are your businesses ready for that? Are they receptive to that? What is the message, and how are you approaching it? And are they receptive to that?
Yes, we're hearing from many businesses that they're very ready for this. They definitely want to start focusing on recovery, and what that looks like is different for each industry. But we're going to keep focusing on what the needs are for each group. And that's why we did a business impact survey, so we could better understand that and get some more data, more input, so we can meet folks where they are. And that's why some of our business recovery webinar content is focused on that next step, because businesses do need to think about, although we don't know that date exactly, I know we all would love to know that, but that date exactly when we could all return and be together, or what that looks like, it's important that each business looks at how they're going to adapt, what they're going to do to change and innovate, and make sure that they not only recover, but thrive coming out of this. That's critically important.
Can you, and last question here, because we have to get to Mr. Loud here, but can you tell me, in terms of industries and sectors, and I know that you guys are very big, but do you have one certain sector industry that that is part of your chamber that has been hit the hardest? Of course, we all know restaurants and hospitality, but is there another sector beyond that that's been hit pretty hard by this?
Yes, Santiago, tourism is the #1 industry in Cobb, with having so much great opportunities, whether Six Flags or the Atlanta Braves and KSU football. There's so many great things that are happening in our community, museums, so much more. And that industry, the hospitality, and that includes restaurants, hotels as well, they have all been hit so hard. And it's been very difficult for them. And so that's why we focus a lot on some of these short-term things like Operation Meal Plan, Cobb Shops to Go, that especially help the retailers in that time, and really appreciate Chairman Boyce's partnership to help them out as well. There's a lot of things happening there. But also nonprofits have also been hit hard, because they're still serving, and actually they're serving even more, because there's a greater need with so much job loss and so much happening to businesses. So they're needing the services of the nonprofits even more. But many of them had to cancel their fundraising campaigns. That was their big fundraiser of the year. And so we've seen them hit very hard as well. And we've been trying to provide a lot of support. And we greatly appreciate the partnership and leadership of Sherry Martin with Cobb Community Foundation, who's been an incredible resource and advocate for our nonprofits. And actually, we're featuring a nonprofit chamber chats on Friday about how can we help all the nonprofits through this.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And again, thank you for your leadership and your partnership. I'd like to introduce now John Loud, who is the chairman of the Cobb Chamber. Cobb County Chamber of Commerce, and also a business owner. You probably have heard his commercials on the radio. If you're a sports fan, I know I've heard on numerous times, and they're great commercials, by the way. And so without further ado, John Loud, president of Loud Security Systems. Mr. Loud, can you give us a perspective in terms of being the chairman of the Cobb Chamber, and then also being a business owner? You know, what are you seeing? How's it going?
Absolutely, Santiago. Thank you so much, and thanks for including me today. And looking forward to actually having sports covered in some of these radio stations here again, hopefully sooner than later, and maybe days away instead of weeks away. We'll see what happens there. First off, I want to applaud you, Santiago, for you and the Georgia Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, for what you're doing to bring these rich resources together. Today's filming is actually a great example of this, where you've got the healthcare and the government and the business resources. Because I was on a radio interview last week and they asked me at the end of it, what's the number one thing of my guidance for businesses out there of all sizes and all different struggles and challenges along the way? I said, you've got to turn to that resource of your chamber. So your members are turning to the right place right now, and you're that leader to be able to help bring together of all the different pieces of the puzzle for them to know where we are medically, for them to know where we are government-wise, so that they can get that insight. And I will share with you, look, we've all facing different challenges out there, but our chambers together, look, we're just another partner resource to be able to help and come along together with you, as Sharon Mason shared so well and so many of the details of what we're doing to be able to help your members and all the members. Sharon shared also, our seminars, our webinars, our information on the website is open to absolutely everybody, free of charge. This is not about just our members. This is about the health and community of all businesses of all sizes, not just in Cobb, but throughout Metro Atlanta area. And we've had folks on our webinars that have been from multitudes of other states that have given us the feedback to say the resource and the information you're providing has been great. So, you know, as I kicked off the beginning of the year, as my chairmanship role, I talked a lot about small business support. Look, I'm a small business guy with loud security systems, started out of the basement of my home. Today, we've got a little over 60 employees, but as I've had those patterns of growth and financial struggles or opportunities along the way, none of us were prepared to talk about or plan for a pandemic. We've always thought and heard about recessions and what are we going to do to best be prepared to be able to endure and get through things like that. But this is one of those, none of us have had a chapter or a book that's kind of studied on how that is. And look, when we start talking about EIDL and PPP and PPE and all that, it is confusing. But the EIDL that has been changing, and that's the economic injury disaster loan that just changed from a $2 million limit down to a $15,000 limit. Or the PPP, which is the payroll protection plan. We've actually, one of our bankers have guided us to add the fourth P, and the fourth P should be patience, because that process is not something that there's not a magic wand for them to be able to miraculously have it happen as fast as we all need and wish it were to happen, but there's a lot of good guidance along the way. We certainly want to invite, with our partnership, for your members to be able to come along and all these different webinars and rich resources of information to be able to help them start to think more about that recovery. As one of my top three is talking about workforce. Boy, before we started to understand what a pandemic is and could even understand how to spell pandemic, we were all talking about our workforce challenges out there. Well, guess what? This too shall pass. There's a new opening day coming down the road. And what are we doing to take those steps now to be thinking about our business plan, to be thinking about our cash flow, to be thinking about obtaining or retaining some of those critical key workforce people that are vital to the resurrection of our businesses, that we can get back to some sense of what our new normalcy is. And Stephen talked earlier about the personal protection equipment. I think you've got a new day. We're going to see a lot more masks. We're going to have a different type of opening as to what that will look like down the road. And this is where you've got to come to attend these types of gatherings that you're putting together so folks can get the information and start to continue with that preparation. But number one thing now is know this is going to pass. Start that preparation. Think about the employees and continue to come to this resource. But thank you so much for including each and every one of us on this call today to be able to be an assistance and a support, because we are there to help all businesses, any size. Do not hesitate to reach out from the website or our phone numbers. Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. Just one question from the perspective of a small business owner, if you don't mind. If you can give us a couple tips on what you're doing right now. I agree with you. None of us were ready, right? I'm running a small business. It's a nonprofit, but I'm running a chamber, and certainly we didn't have a pandemic written into our strategic plan for the year. A couple of tips, or what are you guys doing to survive this right now as a small business owner, for our small business owners that are out there watching this?
Sure, absolutely. I'll give you two perspectives there. So one, I'll give you from loud security systems. You know, we're classified in the essential. We deal with life safety and protection of property and so forth. So we have folks that are still out in vehicles. And my key to probably all businesses that are able to even still operate or not operate, number one is communication. You've got to be able to communicate not only with your customers, but with your team as to what is going on, where you are in the process, where you are in the stages, but not only communicate, but talk about the protection that you're doing for your customers, for the business, the longevity, and then also show them that whether it's via video or social media, that mode of communication to show the protection you're doing before we send technicians into a business or into somebody's home. We want to be able to, number one, show we're caring for our team members, but we're caring for the safety of our customers also. The other is, look, with the opportunity of being chairman of the Cobb Chamber with 2,600 companies involved, there are some tough, devastating stories that are going on out there. And so much of that where some folks have completely ceased operation, we are putting a lot of folks together to get the guidance on where they are for the moment and where they need to be able to get ready to pivot for those next steps. So while we're fortunate to be able to have a modified operation, we certainly have many people working from home. Not everybody is in the office, and we have folks, of course, that are out in vehicles. So we've got a multifaceted approach with all of it. But again, the key part of that is communication.
Well, thank you, Mr. Loud. And I would like to thank you for your service and your leadership, tremendous leadership there. If you are a resident of Cobb County, I think you should consider yourself fortunate to have great leadership in your county. You know, we heard today from Chairman Boyce, from Stephen Bolt, from the Wellstar system, a huge hospital system here in Georgia, and then our business leaders, which are partners of ours, Sharon Mason and John Loud. So thank all of you today for being with us. And I do want to remind all of you that are watching what we're doing here at our chamber, the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We are not in the office naturally, but we continue to work. We're answering phones from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We also are answering emails every day, including weekends. We have a COVID-19 resource page, and we do have daily webinars and seminars, as well as participating with the governor on his task force, and we have our own task force. We continue to learn from chambers of commerce like the Cobb Chamber on best practices, right? And I think we've learned a couple things here that we can start doing in terms of recovery. So thank everybody for being with us here today. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care and stay safe. If you have any questions, please call 404-929-9998 or ghcc.org. Thank you. God bless.